At Thanksgiving, my sister stood up, tapped her glass, and announced like she was accepting an award. Mom and Dad are signing the house to me. Emily gets nothing. The room erupted cheers, whistles. Someone even yelled, "About time I didn't clap." I didn't blink. I just smiled the way you smile when a storm hits, but you already know the roof is theirs, not yours. I set my fork down. "Dad," I said softly, "should I tell them, or will you?" His face drained. My sister froze. And in that moment, everyone knew something was coming. Before I take you into what happened after that silence, tell me where you listening from tonight. It helps to know there are people out there who've lived through families like mine. My name is Emily Nolan, and if you'd met my family before that Thanksgiving, you might have thought we were close. The kind of Midwestern picture people post on holiday cards, matching sweaters, smiling in front of a tree, pretending we never raised our voices. But families like mine don't break in loud, obvious ways. They crack in silence, in small choices, in who gets listened to and who gets ignored. And for as long as I can remember, I've lived in the quiet space where people only notice you when they need something. Jenna, my younger sister, never knew that space. She was the favorite, bright, loud, full of charm, the kind of girl relatives fawn over at gatherings, calling her a natural and a spark. I didn't hate her for it. I just learned early that I'd have to build my life on my own because nothing was ever going to be handed to me the way it was handed to her. Growing up, I watched my parents pour attention into Jenna like she was a plant that needed constant watering. Dance classes, summer camps, private lessons, things I was told we couldn't afford when I asked. Later, when I moved to Chicago for work, they called it selfish, like choosing independence meant I was abandoning them. Meanwhile, Jenna stayed close, visiting every weekend, sliding into that perfect little mold they'd carved out for her. Still, I kept coming home for holidays. For my grandmother, mostly. Evelyn Nolan, sharp mind, silver hair, the only person in the family who looked at me with real pride. When she hugged me at the door, it didn't feel like an obligation. It felt like being seen. She'd tap my cheek, whisper something like, "You're stronger than they think," then slip back into her chair, like she hadn't just given me enough fuel to last another year. This Thanksgiving felt strange before it even began. The air in the house was different. Thick, expectant, like everyone had been let in on a secret I wasn't meant to hear. Mom was darting around the kitchen with that tight smile she wears when she's hiding something. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes for more than a second. Jenna kept brushing lint off her dress, even though it was perfectly clean. And when I walked into the dining room, I noticed one more thing. An empty chair next to mine was missing. Not moved, not pushed aside, gone. I should have known then. You'd think the empty chair would have been enough of a warning, but in my family, the signs are always quiet before they explode. I sat down anyway, smoothing my napkin across my lap, pretending not to notice the way conversations dipped every time I entered the room. They'd go flat for a second like someone had pressed mute, then pick up again with forced laughter the moment I passed. Jenna floated around like the star of her own parade, checking the table settings, fixing angles on the centerpiece, whispering little asides to Mom that made them both smile. Every so often, she'd look at me with a tight-lipped grin, polite but hollow, like I was a coworker she barely tolerated. It wasn't always like this. For a long time, Jenna and I were just two kids, sharing a bedroom, passing notes under the door when we were supposed to be asleep. She used to braid my hair, steal my sweaters, beg me to drive her everywhere once I got my license. But somewhere between high school and adulthood, something shifted. She slipped comfortably into the role my parents built for her golden girl perfect daughter, while I slipped quietly out of the frame. The house situation started 6 months earlier, long before the announcement at Thanksgiving. It was a humid Saturday in June when Mom called, asking me to come home for something important. No details, no warning. When I arrived, they ushered me straight to the dining table, the same table where everything would later fall apart. Dad had a folder laid out like a presentation. Mom smiled too hard, like her face hurt from stretching. "Sweetheart." Dad began, "We're refinancing the house. Just a simple signature. Better rates. You won't have to worry about anything." Even then, something in me tensed. My family never asked me for help unless they needed more than they were willing to admit. I flipped through the papers, heart thrumming as I tried to make sense of the numbers. Something felt off, too many pages, too many amounts blacked out, too many rushed explanations. "Can I take these with me?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "My lawyer can look at them." The silence that followed told me everything. Mom's smile faltered. Dad snapped the folder shut too quickly, like he regretted putting it in front of me in the first place. "It's just a formality," he insisted. "Why complicate things?" But I took the folder anyway. Back in Chicago, my lawyer flipped through the papers, eyebrows rising higher with each page. She didn't smile. She didn't stall. She called me the next morning. "This isn't a refinance," she said. "It's a transfer of liability. If you sign, you're responsible for their debt." Debt? I'd stared at the phone numb. What debt? She explained slowly, carefully, a second mortgage, months of missed payments, foreclosure letters, things I didn't even know existed. And the moment I understood, something inside me locked into place. Not anger, not yet. Something colder, something steady. 2 months later, Dad called again, this time asking for money. Not a loan, not help, money. He said it was for Mom's medical bills, but when I offered to pay the hospital directly, he crumbled. The story shifted. The truth leaked out, late payments, deadlines, desperation. And now sitting at that Thanksgiving table, watching Jenna glow under everyone's attention, the weight of those 2 months pressed against my ribs. They weren't giving her the house. They were giving her the debt, and they expected me to sit quietly beside her while it happened. By the time November rolled around, the secret sat between my parents and me like a live wire. We did not talk about the papers I refused to sign or the call where Dad admitted the truth. Our conversations shrank into weather updates and questions about work, as if small talk could cover a crater. They did not know I had done more than refuse. I pulled the property records myself. I knew about the second mortgage, the interest eating them alive, the foreclosure clock already ticking. They were drowning and trying to drag someone else under with them. At first, I thought that someone was always meant to be me. I was the one with the stable job in Chicago, no kids the person they saw as a safety net they were entitled to. Saying no to them was like learning a new language that tasted like guilt. Then Jenna started posting hints online, captions about big changes, photos on the front porch with our parents, jokes about being ready to be a homeowner. Every post felt like another piece snapping into place. A week before Thanksgiving, Mom called to gush about how excited Jenna was to host more often once things were settled with the house. She said it lightly, as if the house were a gentle heirloom, not a bomb they were wrapping in a bow. That was the night I stopped hoping they would fix it on their own. I went to my desk, pulled out a folder, and started filling it. Copies of payments overdue, notices the summary pages that showed exactly how deep they were. I did not plan to humiliate them. I planned to make sure no one could say they did not know what they were walking into. On Thanksgiving morning, I drove back with that folder in my bag and a knot in my stomach. Part of me still wanted to believe they would pull me aside, admit the plan had gone too far. Instead, Mom met me at the door with a tight hug that smelled like perfume and strain. "You look beautiful," she said. "Jenna is going to be so happy you're here." The way she said Jenna, not "we told me everything." Inside, the dining room was set, extra leaves in the table glasses shining, every chair filled but mine. My grandmother caught my eye from her usual spot and gave me a small nod like she knew more than she was saying. As I slid into my place, my hand brushed the edge of my bag. Paper against canvas. Proof against denial. If they were turning this dinner into a performance, I was done playing the quiet extra. When my sister rose from her seat and tapped her glass, I already knew I was about to watch the curtain lift on a performance they'd rehearsed without me. Jenna stood there, glowing, her hair curled perfectly, the necklace our grandmother gave her, catching the light like it had been chosen specifically for the moment she was about to steal. "Mom and Dad are signing the house to me," she announced, her voice bright enough to carry across every plate and every glass. "Emily gets nothing." The room erupted before the meaning had even finished sinking in. Cheers, loud claps, a few whistles, and the kind of laughter people use when they think they're supporting something good. Someone actually slapped Dad on the back. My mother dabbed the corner of her eye like she was witnessing an engagement. I didn't touch my glass. I didn't even blink. I just looked at Jenna and smiled. Not wide, not warm. The kind of smile that holds the weight of everything you aren't saying yet. Then I lowered my fork onto my plate and asked Dad, should I tell them? Or will you? The effect was instant. It was like my words cut a wire. The room dropped into silence so heavy I could hear the radiator tick. Dad's hand slipped. His fork hit the plate with a metallic clatter that echoed. Jenna's expression pinched. Tell us what? Around us relatives leaned forward, scenting drama. My grandmother exhaled sharply, as if she'd been waiting for anyone, to stop pretending everything was fine. I reached into my bag, pulled out the folder, and placed it in front of me. I didn't open it yet. I just let it sit there, resting like a quiet threat. Before you celebrate Jenna getting the house, I said calmly, you should probably know the condition it's in. Dad tried to recover. Emily not here. Why not, I asked. You weren't embarrassed when you decided to sign it over to her without telling her about the debt. Heads turned. Conversations died. Jenna stiffened like someone had pulled a string tight inside her. What debt, she snapped. I finally opened the folder.